Okay, Jabil. So Jabil's interesting. Jabil basically gives you a sense for the entire tech landscape. Not software, just hardware. It's like you basically can get global GDP by looking at Jabil because they're so enmeshed in making electronics for everyone. Now, one of the problems is, again, we're dealing with a different quarter fiscal system. Jabil, I used to call it Jabil when I was a teenager. It's Jabil. Okay, so they call this their Q3, fiscal 24. Same quarter? Yeah, okay. Q3, fiscal Q3, 2024. And you'll notice that Jabil's revenue was down year over year, which is like, a lot of people think we're in like this weird stealth recession. And it's more complicated than that. Like basically there's some segments of the economy doing well and others that aren't. And Jabil, get into what they do exactly in a second. They do basically contract manufacturing. You're not supposed to know about Bridger Capital. You're not supposed to talk about Bridger Capital. Stop asking questions about Bridger Capital. All shares outstanding are held in a publicly traded company or public. I mean, I don't understand the question, I guess. There's no such thing as privately held shares. Okay, so Jabil's buying back tons of stock, which is kind of interesting. Listen, there's some things about Bridger Capital, quite frankly, if you keep asking, that can get you killed. Stop playing around. It's not a game for kids. It's not some internet game. This is real serious business. Drug development, there is one really good book, if you want, called 𝗙𝗏𝗡𝗦 by Rosenbaum. If you really want to get started, basic pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. Second edition, Sarah Rosenbaum from Genentech, one of the best drug companies ever. $90, best $90 you'll ever spend. If you read this book, 600 pages, you'll understand medicine better than 99% of people. If you read the first 3 chapters, you'll understand medicine better than 90% of people. Yeah, just reading and understanding the first 3 chapters will be pretty good. Oh, she's at Rhode Island now? I thought she was still at Genentech. She must have moved. Ana de Armas. Yeah, she's pretty hot. Yeah, some of these pictures aren't that great, but see, I think if you marry a really beautiful woman, the problem is going to become like someday she won't be that beautiful, and then what do? You've built up this like image and this thing in your head, and then what? You either have to do what Leonardo DiCaprio does, or you have to just accept that like human relations are not not all about looks. Yeah, so if you can find a Sofia Vergara, great. Look, I'd love that myself. But at the end of the day, eventually, the show has to end. Whenever I tell girls this, they get really upset. They're like, "No, I'll be young forever." I put my finger on their lips. No. One day you'll be old, fat, and ugly, just like the rest of us. And it's bad for women too, because if they build that self-image up themselves, then they really start fearing getting older and really start fearing that. So, surgeries and fillers they're Band-Aids, right? They're just gonna, your true beauty will fade. And that's fine, like I think we have to be comfortable with it. We have our moment and moment moves on. I don't know, I think we should sort of normalize losing libido after a certain age. Just be like, it's over. I think most people kind of do. They don't talk about it, obviously, but hey, 𝗥𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗦, what's up? Salma Hayek is like, look, that's the ideal. Salma Hayek, Sofia Vergara. Who else kept their looks really late? There's plenty. But, you just can't, Lindsay Lohan, you just can't
put that in your, I'm just kidding about Lindsay. You can't put that in your head as like, that's what's gonna be for the rest of your life. I just don't get it. I love Lindsay Lohan, man. That was my number one. I just like redheads, but that was my number one pick. As an up and coming business person, I was like, I'm gonna marry Lindsay Lohan. One day she'll know I'm the rich, big baller, successful guy. Now I'm like, nope. Yeah, I think she might know my name. JK. Okay, so let's look at Jabil. Isn't this interesting? Like, so this is a company that just broadly makes electronic equipment. Anna Kendrick is also, she's like my current, she would be like my top pick 5-10 years ago. If I can marry any girl, I'd marry Anna Kendrick. Basically, anytime you're using your mouse, you're wasting time. That's why we designed the Godel terminal to be backward compatible with legacy terminals, one of which is Bloomberg, because you actually don't ever need to use your mouse on it. And we're gonna add a whole lot of features soon. In Godel, bonds, global stocks, there's already Canada in there, but every stock, every newswire, which is very hard to get, newswires are extremely difficult. How much age gap is too much is a great question. It really depends on the two people. I don't think you could distill it down to a number. I think, obviously, the first thing to do is follow the law. I do think skipping, like the first digit, the most you can skip is 2. So like 21, or maybe like 28 and 51 are okay. 41, I think I don't even know, maybe even that is probably too much. There's probably a good quantitative way to do it. Anytime you skip more than 2 digits, it's too much. So like 40 and 22 is fine. I happen to be 40, by the way. So I listen to 21. I'm friends with 21 Savage. He asked me for some financial advice. 7 is, I don't know. A lot of guys would not like that to be restricted to 7 years. I date girls older than me and younger than me. I don't think there's anything special about Palantir being an S&P. The S&P is a meme. Like, it's not that relevant. I mean, it's not unimportant, but it's also like, it's not going to make their business better that they're in the S&P, you know? Guys, we made it. We're in the S&P 500. I mean, it's an accomplishment, no doubt about it, but it's not like anytime I get added to an index, in my career, I didn't care. Last 5 quarters for Jabil, right? And they're a broad, I love Christina Hendricks. She got married though, and she's a little older. So this is a broad manufacturing company, and this is their growth for the last 5 quarters. I mean, that is not good. If you were make generic manufacturing, why'd you do that to me? Why'd you do that to me? All right, her name is Bailey Moon. Let me show you what she looks like. See if we got some good pictures of her. She has a very, very pretty face. There's no doubt about that. She's got one of the most beautiful faces in the world. I like No Makeup Bailey better, to be honest. A lot of character. She's very, very cool t-shirts, like that one. I simp for Dasha. I think simping is like a nice thing to do, because it's like, it encourages the rest of the simp army. Even if I'm not like real simping, I'm just like kind of showing some love, you know? It's funny because men and women have the same perspective. Like, there's this chick who is like, oh, I get to watch all the hot guys go to the office dressed really well in New York. And I'm like, that's what guys think the exact opposite, right? They're like, oh, I can't wait to see all the pretty girls dressed up at the office or wherever, happy hour. And it's like, yeah, we have the symmetrical thoughts. I mean, it's kind of amazing how that works. So look at how interesting this is. 6 quarters in a row, declining sequential revenue growth. So this could mean that they're losing share or something like that, and maybe it means that we've bottomed out. I mean, but these guys basically just manufacture stuff for everyone. I'm assuming like Apple's a customer, although they're like similar to Foxconn. I'm assuming Apple spreads around their business. It's not just Foxconn. 7 quarters in a row. Declining sequential. 7 quarters in a row. Now they divested a business actually, so maybe that matters quite a bit. So if they divested a business, the revenue drops as a result. So you got to keep that in mind as well. So now we have to go back and like examine that, make sure we account for that. Divested mobility. Sometimes you give like a specific, like it looks like here's where the divestment happened. We'll figure that out in a second. So some of this revenue decline has to be from that, but some of it isn't either. They're not telling us exactly about the divestment stuff. That's annoying. In pharma, they give you like this constant currency type of thing. But yeah, it's concerning that Jabil has like rapidly declining revenue, because it's like, why, when we have all this like data center growth and all this stuff, Jabil's shrinking? Huh? Yeah, this is not like very transparent reporting. Did they sell it yet? Maybe they didn't even sell it yet. I think they closed it. Okay, December 29, 2023, they closed it. GameStop's like earnings don't even make a difference to GameStop anymore. Okay, so that would be 1 month into this quarter. I see. Okay, so before these 5 quarters, they were still declining. How big was mobility? 400 million lower. So it was maybe $1 billion in revenue, roughly. Yeah, I look at United Healthcare. It's an important company in healthcare, to say the least. No, I look at foreign companies too. I actually kind of specialize in some ways in foreign companies, but I don't know if you're ready for that kind of conversation. There's a lot of levels to this. I teach all kinds of levels. I teach novices. I teach pros. So would you buy $1 billion in cash flow for $12 billion, like stable cash flow? It's not like a steal. It's just such a mature business. It's like your outlook for electronics manufacturing would have to be very positive. Robotics could get you some of that growth. Yeah, it'd take you 12 years to get your money back, which with no growth is a little bit cheap for an equity, but it's not great. Never like having different companies, different numbers from the company. That's not a good sign. We'll see what the discrepancy is later. Boot camps, I think it depends. I don't think they necessarily are a huge waste of time. They might force you to focus, whereas if you try to learn software on your own, you might be lazy about it or forget. That's kind of one of the good things about school in general. Okay, so it's not $1 billion in. It's not $1 billion in free cash. Never mind. Free cash has actually been. Nate, you can find some Python from scratch videos, and I would use Replit as a great product to learn the ropes. A big part of Python for beginners is installing Python, which is can be very painful. All right, so this should be, maybe I do have these numbers right, let's see. This should be 34,702. Okay, it is. Oh, okay, yeah, I have numbers right. I was bugging. Word I learned in jail. You're bugging. And then there's geeking. Don't be bugging and don't be geeking. Replit's nice because you can deploy servers and IDEs from scratch, whereas Python can be a little brutal to run the code if you're brand new. Just use AI to code. Replit has it built in, so you can use that if you want to, but AI is not going to solve all your problems. Data science is kind of a meme. Like, I don't think it hurts. It's great for like business users. You know, you could be like half a programmer kind of thing at a big company, like you'd be a business analyst and you're also kind of know programming and data science. It's not a bad thing. But that's not like fully employable thing.
I think it's less important what you're trying to study and more important your attitude. Andrew Tate is right about that, at least. He gives people a little bit of that winning attitude. And part of watching me isn't just about learning how to look at companies. It's also about a work ethic, an attitude, a framework for life, a little like Jordan Peterson. That revolves around a couple of key principles. We actually had a name for this, which I won't share, because that's like secret level 35. But it basically translates loosely into leave no stone unturned. And that's kind of like my research philosophy. It's very difficult to employ. Most people want the lazy way out. They just want the answer in 5 minutes. They don't want to sit and do the hardcore work. I don't know if work ethic is genetic. I think you can psych yourself into it and psych yourself out of it. I think it's very much a psyop. You have to psyop yourself. Most people are not born to be leaders and to be really successful. It's just that nature of the beast. If you want to be that, you're going to have to be different. You're going to have to zig when others zag. You're going to have to do things really that look strange to your friends. When I was in high school, I used to read the Wall Street Journal. None of my friends read the Wall Street Journal. They didn't understand what that was. I used to talk about stocks nonstop. Nobody wanted to talk about stocks. You got to be different. Really different. Whether that's programming or whatever vocation it is. And it's not about doing it from a young age. It's about a mental framework where you're constantly adding to your knowledge base over time, and you're seeking that knowledge out, and you're trying to achieve perfection over long periods of time. A lot of it is about a long-term philosophy, but it's also about a thorough philosophy. And all of these things matter way more than did I learn data science or did I learn XYZ. Those things matter a little bit. You know, it's kind of like the saying, you want to be in the right zip code or the right neighborhood, but you also want to have the right house in the right neighborhood. So maybe everyone's sitting there saying, well, what's the right neighborhood? Should I be in hedge funds? Should I be in AI? Should I be in data science? Should I be in back end, front end, full stack, database programming? You know, they ask all these meticulous questions, but they never ask the question, instead of what should I be in, you should be asking the question, what should be in me? You know, you don't want the worst house in the best neighborhood. There's still homeless people on Park Avenue. And you don't want the worst house in the best neighborhood, or you don't want the best house in Kentucky necessarily either. So it's not easy, but most people worry about the neighborhood. That you should be worried about the house. I think chem is better for pharma than bio. Well, at some point Jabil was growing, and then this like weird pseudo recession has hit. And I very much encourage you to think about Jabil as a economic barometer. Yeah, it's hard to tell, man.
For now, Jabil doesn't look too appetizing. I don't know it. I don't know it well.
Okay, so maybe we take a break till 7 o'clock.